The first thing I did is I was just reminded as I did this so I could see you guys better. The inventor of the instrument used to do this at shows all the time when he talked to the audience. And I was like, it kind of helps you see them. Anyways, the instrument's called a Chapman stick. The inventor was Emmett Chapman. And he was a jazz guitar player back in the 60s, and he kind of around the same area the guys were just talking about. But he was playing in the jazz clubs. Somewhere in the late 60s, he started making instruments for himself, guitars, I should say, for himself. And he was experimenting with all kinds of things. He had different numbers of strings, and he had levers and gadgets, and something he called a wild string he could bend with his elbow. He was playing with baby combs instead of picks, and just really reaching for something new. But his first love in music was really always improvisation. And as a guitar player, more or less, you're either playing melody or you're playing chords. And he was a little jealous of jazz piano players, I guess, who can kind of do both at once. And he wanted to be able to not only improvise around the melody of the song, but also change kind of the harmony and the progression of the song. So he eventually got very good at this. I'll tell you a funny story I had, because I had many instances, because I lived not too far from him in Southern California, where we would do shows together, which was mostly, trading sets back and forth, or sometimes he would invite me to play with him, which was always 100% improv. But when he'd be playing on his own, there were moments when he'd be playing a song that you should know, and you couldn't figure it out. And one of the prime memories I have of this was he was playing, and I was seated next to his wife, and he started playing this song without saying what it was. And she said, "Oh, he's playing this for me. He knows it's my favorite song." And I'm listening, and I'm like, I have no idea what this is. And I own a lot of albums. I don't know what this is. So I go, "Oh, what is it?" And she said, "Oh, it's Hotel California." And honestly, my reaction was I listened more and I thought, is there another Hotel California besides the one by the Eagles? Because I don't hear that at all. And so I waited a little while, and then I asked her, I said, "You mean the one by the Eagles?" And she said, "Oh yeah. Okay, Emmett, I'm trying to hang with you here. I'm not getting that." But he was fantastic at that. Had one of the best jazziers I've ever played with. There was another moment where we were doing a show in Southern California, and we each had a 25-minute set. And he said for his set, I had a drummer with me, and he said for his set, he was going to just play the entire 25 minutes without stopping, just all improv. And he said, wait backstage for 5 minutes and then come out and join me. I thought, boy, that's not awkward. Somebody's playing on stage, walk in and plug in. Like, let me just join you here. And then 5 minutes later, have the drummer come out. And so that was his set, was this full improv thing. But there was a moment when I think it was just Emmett and I playing at that point. I'm like, okay, we're in this such and such key, and I'm playing. And I hit a note that was like 1 fret off, like a half step off. And to me, it was this bum note, just let it go, keep going. But like that, he thought, or he heard it like I was modulating to a new key, and the whole thing shifted to a new key, and I went, okay, and then we chase that now. So, really, the only other person I can honestly say that had that level of jazzio that I've been lucky to play with was a guy who was, he was the chairman of ear training at Berklee College of Music. So it's like, it was amazing. But anyways, where am I going? You want to know about the stick, but we'll get back to that in a few minutes. So it's 1969, and Emmett has this strange 9-string guitar he's made for himself. And he realized he could play it in both hands just by tapping on the strings without picking or strumming. And he thought, well, that's it. Now I can play in both hands. I can do the thing, this improv he wanted to do. And he set about kind of making different instruments with different tunings, different numbers of strings, got rid of everything he thought he didn't need, like the body. And it's wild, because I knew him for many years. He passed away a couple years ago, but I knew him for many years, and I only really recently started to think, like, he made his own pickups, he did woodwork, he did every component of this thing. But in 1974, he'd settled on a 10-string version of this, started selling them out of his house. I think the first production run was maybe about 7 instruments. Kept experimenting and improving it over the years, and we fast forward to today, and his daughter, Grace Chapman, is running the business. And I gotta ask her about this number, but not too long ago, she told me they've made about 8,000 instruments now at our house. So, yeah.
How many accomplished touring musicians play
That's loaded question, isn't it? You put accomplished and musician in the same sentence, and a lot of feelings could be hurt. You know, I mean, the guy that Paul mentioned earlier, Tony Levin, is easily the most visible because he's played with everybody. It's easier to name, I should say, it's harder to name people Tony hasn't played with than the ones he's played with. That's how his resume looks. There's several others. I mean, there was a great guy from Virginia named Greg Howard. We also unfortunately lost a couple years ago, and he did a lot for the instrument, writing books and videos and lessons online, and played with the Dave Matthews Band some, so that's another place you'll see it pop up a little bit. There's a guy named Nick Beggs who's out of England and plays with all kinds of progressive rock groups. I don't know. There's Art Durkee right here. he's a local guy. And somebody else is clapping in the back. They're either... Who? Somebody's back there. Steve? Oh, Steve. Hey, Steve. Yeah, this is, you guys are actually, you didn't even know this, you're living in one of the hotbeds of the country for the Chapman stick. Like, there's a store here, Oz's Music, that's one of the only ones that is a dealer in the country. And, yeah, and, you know, you are the home to the first annual Chapman Stick Festival a number of years ago. First annual and only. But that was an amazing event put on by our friend Glenn Portman, who's now up in Traverse City, and does kind of leads a stick workshop there every other year at Interlochen, which is amazing. You know, to have that at Interlochen is cool. Anyways, I'm talking next month. That's right. All right, Art will be there. You can ask Art any other questions you need about the stick.
Is it easier or harder to tune than a 12-string guitar?
Easier. Much easier, yeah, for sure. You'll see, gosh, you guys are getting the inside the actor's studio or whatever. I'm in the habit of just tuning even when I don't need to. You'll see me up here when Paul's talking, I'm like, oh, I might as well check it, you know, just rather than stand there. But yeah, it's pretty stable actually. Anyways, let's stop this. You turn this off, please. No, really did. Awesome. Man, thank you. No, I'm going to play this solo piece for you. This is one that's another original and comes from the first solo album I did, which conveniently we have in the lobby on CDs. If you're not familiar with what a CD is, it's kind of like vinyl, but it's more portable and it's more durable. And it actually, you know, lasts longer. It doesn't pop and scratch as much as vinyl. If you're not familiar with what vinyl is, well, a CD is kind of like, it's kind of like streaming, but there's no monthly fee, and there's no advertisements to listen to. It's actually better sound quality. We can actually sign the packaging. It comes with artwork and stuff we can sign. We haven't figured out signing downloads yet. We've been trying to for a while. And it actually supports the musicians and the artists and engineers and everybody too, so thank you for that. Okay, now for real, I'm going to play this song. This is called Waking the Day.